All right, Eastlake, good morning. How's everybody this morning? Good. It's good to see you. Good to see smiles on your faces. Let's all stand together. For there is joy in the house of the Lord, and let's sing and we worship that together. The God who is, we worship the God who evermore will be. He opened the prison doors, he parted the raging sea. My God, he holds the victory. You believe that? Let's say, there's joy in the house of the Lord. There's joy in the house of the Lord today. We won't be quiet, we shout out. There's joy in the house of the Lord. Our God is surely in this place. We won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. We sing to the God who heals. We sing to the God who saves. We sing to the God who always makes a way. 'Cause he hung up on that cross and he rose up from that grave. My God still rolling storms away. Yeah. There's joy in the house of the Lord. There's joy in the house of the Lord today. We won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. Our God is surely in this place. We won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. What a great way to begin. We are the beggars, and now we're royalty. We were the prisoners, now we're running free. We are forgiven, accepted, redeemed by his grace. Let the house of the Lord sing praise. Let's sing it again. We were the beggars, now we're royalty. We were the prisoners, now we're running free. We are forgiven, accepted, redeemed by his grace. Let the house of the Lord sing praise. All over you go. There's joy in the house of the Lord. Let's go. There's joy in the house of the Lord today. We won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. Our God is surely in this place. We won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. There's joy in the house of the Lord today. We won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. Our God is surely in this place. We won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. Oh, we shout out your praise. Oh, we shout. We shout out your praise. When I'm at my end, just getting started. When I hit a wall, you just walk through. When I face a mountain, you are the maker. So it's gotta move. Who's excited about that this morning? Come on. When I'm out of faith, you are still faithful when I'm at my worst. You are still good. In all of my questions, you are the answer. It all points to you. Oh, we love you, God. 'Cause you're the God of the breakthrough. When I'm breaking down, you'll be working a way through. When there's no way out, this one thing I know, you're still on your throne. So whatever I'm feeling, I still got a reason to praise, praise, praise. Out of our wrongs, you write our story. And out of the cross come rivers of grace. And out of the grave bursts a revival no tomb can contain. Yeah, you're the God of the breakthrough. When I'm breaking down, you'll be working a way through. And there's no way out. This one thing I know, you're still on your throne. So whatever I'm feeling, still got a reason to praise, praise, praise. Oh, I still got a reason to praise, praise, praise. I still got a reason to praise. But when you come around these dry bones, you come to life, deserts, paradise, stones just keep rolling away. And when you come around, my heart starts to beat again. Long stretch to breathe you in, souls just erupt into praise. And when you come around the dry bone, they come to life, deserts to paradise, souls just start rolling away. Come around, my heart starts to beat again. Long stretch to breathe you in, souls just erupt into praise. Oh, 'cause you're the God of the breakthrough. When I'm breaking down, you'll be working a way through. When there's no way out, this one thing I know, you're still on your throne. So whatever I'm feeling, still got a reason to praise, praise, praise. I still got a reason to praise, praise, praise. Oh, I still got a reason to praise. Let's sing this out as a cry of our heart. 'Cause you're the God of the breakthrough. When I'm breaking down, you'll be working a way through. When there's no way out, this one thing I know, you're still on your throne. So whatever I'm feeling, I still got a reason to praise. Yeah. Oh, we still. Oh, I still got a reason to praise. Even when things are tough, even when life feels low. Oh, I still got a reason to praise. Isn't that such a beautiful reminder this morning? I know that for me, sometimes I walk in this place and I just feel like, man, I am pumped and I am ready to go. But there are other times where we are dragging in the things that have been weighing us down all week. And if that's you, man, first off, we love you and God loves you and He is with you through it. But we still got a reason to praise. And I heard this thing
said in a book one time, and it was, man, I need to find ways to pray that God will get me through this, and that instead of trying to pray it away from this. And so this morning, God is with you and through it. He is the Emmanuel. He is God with you. And so let's sing this out together, as maybe it's a cry of the heart in joy, or maybe it's a cry of your heart in desperation. But either way, let's sing this out. I'm the God of the breakthrough. You're the God of the breakthrough. When I'm breaking down, you'll be working a way through. But there's no way out. This one thing I know, you're still on your throne. So whatever I'm feeling, I still got a reason to praise. Praise. Got a reason to praise, praise, praise. Oh, I've still got a reason to praise, praise. I've still got a reason to praise, praise. Give God some glory this morning. He's with you in your struggle. Come on.
We sing. I'm gonna sing till my heart starts changing. Oh, I'm gonna worship till I mean every word. 'Cause the way I feel and the fear I'm facing doesn't change who you are or what you deserve. Give it to Him. I give you my worship. You still deserve it. You're worthy. You're worthy. You're worthy of my song. I pour out your praises and blessing and breaking. You're worthy. You're worthy. You're worthy of my song. Worthy, I'm gonna live like my King is risen. Gonna preach to my soul that you've already won. Yes, He has. And even though I can't see it, I'm gonna keep believing that every promise you made is as good as done. You still deserve it. You're worthy. You're worthy. Jesus, you're worthy of my song. I pour out your praises and blessing and breaking. You're worthy. You're worthy. Jesus, you're worthy of my song. You're worthy. You're worthy. Jesus, you're worthy of my song. You're worthy. You're worthy. He is worthy. In the blessing, in the pain, you are worthy. Whether you say yes or no, wait, you are worthy. Through it all, I choose to say you are worthy. I'll never stop singing your praise. I'll never stop singing your praise. We sing when I finally see your face. I'm worthy. We cry when you weren't the face, I cry worthy. And when you wipe these tears away, I cry worthy. And above every other name, you are worthy. I'll never stop singing your praise. I never stop singing your praise. I never stop singing your praise. We sing it, never stop singing your praise. We can't stop, never singing your praise. We declare you're worthy. I never stop singing your praise. Never stop singing your praise. I never stop singing your praise. Never stop singing your praise. I never stop singing your praise. Never stop singing your praise. We declare you're worthy. Never stop singing your praise. 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 In the blessing, in the pain, you are worthy. When you wipe these tears away, I cry worthy. Above every other name, you are worthy. I'll never stop singing your praise. I'll never stop singing your praise. And Father, we just declare you are worthy. God, you're worthy of it all. And may we never stop. And no matter what is going on, Father, may we find reason to praise. And declare that you are worthy of it all. And we thank you that you have given us the opportunity to be here, to worship you, and that your Spirit is among us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Y'all can have a seat.
Amen. All right, good morning, everybody. Okay, my name is Rob Towns. I'm the family pastor, and I have accepted a reality in my world because the heat gets me no matter where I live. It is a relatively cool day today. I'm going to spend the remainder of my days in South Carolina living as if I have a low-grade fever. Because I am always warm. I'm like, what is happening to me? But it's like, it's okay. I'm good. I do not have a low-grade fever, by the way. Just to catch that up. But I am up here this week because I get to do our third installment of our Place for a Purpose, which means you are placed for a purpose. And really quickly review before we jump right in today. A couple weeks ago, my friend Michelle, who is currently in Israel, spent time explaining to us that we were blessed to be a blessing. This whole Abrahamic covenant that is not gone, that has just been expanded on throughout the years through different iterations, Moses, David, and then ultimately Jesus, that you, my friend, if you are a Christian, if you are a follower of Jesus, you are blessed so that you can bless others. Last week, I simply challenged us to see our neighbors, to see them. To see them and maybe go get to know them and figure out ways that we can engage the people around us that we see every single day. We don't have to go to far off lands to make a difference. We've been placed right where we are to make a difference. And I was going to ask you how y'all did on your assignment where I said go get to see your neighbors, and I was going to share with you what happened with me. So I, like all of you, put it off. Right? Let's be honest. Went home and said, okay, nap time. We're going to try to avoid this a little bit, even though I just challenged an entire group of people to do this. And I was going about my week, and I'm walking through the high school, the halls of Dutch Fork High School. And there is a family in our neighborhood that we have walked past for 5 years. We do these little loops in our neighborhood, and they're usually going one way, and I'm usually going the other. And, of course, earlier in the week, I was out for a walk, and she was going one way, and I was going the other. And I did the really hospitable, incredibly, I see you think of, hey, and kept going. And then I'm walking through the hallways at Dutch Fork, and all of a sudden this person walks up to me, and she goes, we need to meet each other. And I turn around, and I'm like, oh, hi. It was my neighbor that I haven't met for 5 years. And now we know each other, and I know her name, and she knows my name, and I know her husband. It turns out they were part of the Dutch Fork Band years ago. So I just share that with you to let you know that, yes, we do challenge you, and yes, we do intend to follow through, but sometimes God has to jump in and force us as well. However, it's worth it to be available in that moment when God says, here, I tried to get you to do it on your own. Now I'm going to make it happen. So friends, see your neighbors, please. Because this week, I'm going to dive in to the concept of exactly what we can do to make our neighbors feel welcome in our world. And we're going to hear the word hospitality a lot today. Now, we live in the South, right? So Southern hospitality is world famous. I want to make sure that we frame hospitality with Jesus as the definer. Not just some series of wonderful cookouts and pies. And somebody owes me a cookie from over here this morning because they were talking about it, and the hospitable thing to do would be to get me a cookie. I'm not looking at you, Billy. But the reality is hospitality means that we give of ourselves, right? When we say we're hospitable, it means we're opening our homes, we're saying hello, we're being kind. We're doing that wave thing that we do in South Carolina that freaks all the Northerners out, like myself. But for me, the concept goes back to something I learned when I was at Moody Graduate School. So when I was at Moody, I was studying biblical studies. I also did spiritual formation because I'm an overachiever. And then at the very end, the last 2 years, I said, let's add something else. And I jumped into an urban ministry track. And so I literally graduated with all of these credits on how to do all of these things. And one of the professors that impacted me the most is a man by the name of Dr. John Feuder. We just call him Doc. And Doc spent a lot of time impressing upon us that to do ministry in the rural settings and the suburban settings, but he was speaking in the urban context, you must be so hospitable that you become known as the place to go. You must be known as someone who is a transformer of the community around you. That doesn't mean you got to get all political and crazy. It just means that you're somebody that's going to rally for and stand up for the people that have needs. And he took us to a passage of scripture where we're going to start our day today, Jeremiah 29. Jeremiah 29 can be found on page 678 if you have one of our Bibles in the back. It can be found in your Bible if you go to Proverbs, our Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, all those good books. You go to Isaiah, go to the next book, and you're in Jeremiah. Or you can just use the U version by going to the hamburger menu and finding all the verses you need today. Unlike last week, I'm going to be jumping around a lot today. So we are going to be moving through the Bible a little bit today. Last week I was in Matthew 9 all day long. So today we're going to move around. Let me read it to you because what it has to do and what it sets up is what we're supposed to do with exactly where we are placed for a purpose. He is speaking, meaning Jeremiah is speaking to the Israelites who are about to be sent into exile, and he's telling them what they should do when they're in the middle of their enemy. I want that to sink in for a minute. He's telling them how they're to conduct themselves when they've been taken from their homeland and placed in a strange world with people who are taking advantage of them. It's kind of crazy when you hear what he tells them to do. So shouldn't we do something similar in our neighborhoods where we bought the house of our own free will? Or the job that we said yes to? Because here's what he told them to do. This is what the Lord of armies, the God of Israel, says to all the exiles I deported from Jerusalem to Babylon. Build houses and live in them. Plant gardens and eat their produce. Find wives for yourselves and have sons and daughters. Find wives for your sons and give your daughters to men in marriage so that they may bear sons and daughters. Multiply there, do not decrease. Pursue the well-being of the city I have deported you to. Pray to the Lord on its behalf, for when it thrives, you will thrive. For when it thrives, you will thrive. And remember, when he's talking about them thriving, he's talking about they will thrive in such a way that they are being blessed so that they can be a blessing. This is not just to make your life easier text. This is a make your life easier for a purpose text. Make sure that you're living in the blessing that I'm giving you so that your neighbors can be blessed by you. Friends, that call echoes out throughout the generations to us. We must understand that we have to invest in where we are. Anyone who has moved a lot in their lifetime, and I don't pretend to be one of those people. My wife lived 13 places before she graduated from high school. That's crazy to me. I lived in one place until I graduated from high school. The same house, same town. Knows how hard it is to get into a new location and put down roots. I have ministered in 4 different towns. Each one of them I have fallen in love with and put down roots that had to be ripped up and then replanted. So friends, wherever we are, plant there. Let the roots shoot down deep there so that you can benefit everything around you. When a tree has good roots that are healthy, not that are tangling with our sewer lines, mind you, it actually helps all of the environment around it. Oxygen is created. There's fertile soil going on. All the things that we need to have healthy environments. We must do the same as human beings. The Israelites that Jeremiah is speaking to are being told, plant yourselves and make a difference. Make a difference amongst the very people who are persecuting you, who have taken you from everything that you know. And I repeat that just to make sure that I say again, you have chosen where you are. Be a blessing to it. So let's jump right ahead. Let's explain hospitality to each other. I want to make sure you do fully understand what I mean when I say hospitality. Okay, hospitality means this: to welcome and love the stranger, outcast, overlooked, and neighbors around us. Hospitality is not just politely giving someone a pie when they move in next door and then saying, bless their heart. That is one small step of hospitality, and it all depends on the inflection on the bless your heart, whether or not it's hospitality or something else. It is much more than that. It is making sure, like I said, you are identifying the people around you that might be overlooked. It is looking for the stranger and the outcast and inviting them into your sphere. It is going out of your way to make sure that those that are neglected are not neglected by you. It is to be done with a great attitude. 1 Peter 4:8-9 says, above all, maintain constant love for one another, since love covers a multitude of sins. Be hospitable to one another without complaining. How many of you have been hospitable and then breathed out a deep sigh of relief when they left your house? I don't mean because they overstayed, by the way. There is a point where it's like, okay, did you hear me say it's time to go? But some of us have people and we just kind of bear it and we're like, okay, God, I did my good deed today. That's not hospitality. Hospitality is willing and open giving of yourself, no matter how you feel, no matter how tired you are, no matter what your agenda was that day. It's, I am ready, I am able, with a great heart. I love that it says covers a multitude of sins. Now, in the context of 1 Peter, we're speaking of within the church context, but think about the number of times we focus so much on sin and forget to get to know the individual because we think we've got their list of sins down pat in our back pocket. Get the sins list down pat on the person in the mirror first, please. And then just go ahead and move forward without worrying about anyone else's. Just love people. Put truth in front of them. Truth will always involve love. It will always involve hospitality. Now, some people have a special gift for hospitality, right? I do get that. There are people who just thrive on this. My wife is one of those people. God made my wife an introvert who loves hospitality. It's always a conflict in her mind. I watch it happen. It's beautiful. She can't wait to have you over to our house. She really can't. And she doesn't wait for you to leave. She just looks to continue to make sure that you got food on your plate and she serves you the entire time you're there. And the introvert in her is kind of like, I can go in the kitchen while you make them laugh. That's my job. I make people laugh. And then she brings more food. We have a thing called a Jenny-sized portion. So I always say to her, when you ask people what they want for dessert, ask them if they want a Jenny-sized portion or what the rest of the world would eat. Because she wants to make sure she blesses you. So it comes out and it's like this much ice cream. And you're like, sure. I've watched a whole family eat one portion of my wife's ice cream. Which she usually has made fresh that day, by the way, because she just really, really wants to bless people. I don't have quite that gift, but I do have the gift of encouragement and making people feel welcome. I know that about myself. And there's a group of people that I got to spend the summer with, or parts of the summer, and a group of people that I've known for going on 7 or 8 years now that model hospitality. In the next few minutes, I want to walk you through some things real quick about our mission trip that we took this summer with our students to Minnesota. Because we went to partner with a ministry called Godtown. Godtown's actual name is Safe Cities, but what Safe Cities does is they take individual missionaries, who people that want to make a difference in a neighborhood, and they say, I will move there, and I will do exactly what we just saw in Jeremiah. I will send my kids to those schools. I will clean up neighborhood lots. And they do it not, hear me on this, they do it not to necessarily bash people over the head with Jesus or the Bible, but to be Jesus and the Bible in the neighborhoods. They partner with groups across various religions and denominations and non-Christians alike to try to make change in their neighborhoods. They do it unapologetically from a Christian perspective. They are unapologetically Christ followers. But the cool thing about them is they're the most hospitable people I have ever met in my life. And so in the beginning of June, we're going to put the first picture up here, a group of us got into a couple of vans, and we traveled 2,300 miles. I want that to sink in. We were 2,300 miles in the car with these people. Yep, it was something. Teenagers smell fast. But we had a great time. And on the way, we got to stop and we got to have a ball and we got to stop. Actually, we stopped in Chicago because that's where Malcolm is from. And that's one of my favorite cities. And we went and we hung out in Chicago for about 5 or 6 hours. We surprised the kids with that information. This is us in front of the Bean. After we had walked way too far to get to it because the closest parking was a long way away, because we had big vans, and you can't just park anywhere with big vans in Chicago. That's wonderful. So this is the team of people that went to Minnesota to partner in neighborhoods that are being invested in directly, even as we speak right now. The next picture is a picture of my friend John Tolo, my son, and myself. John Tolo had a vision for Godtown almost 20 years ago. One day he woke up and God said, hey, why don't you go make a difference right here where you live? And he started going, okay, what does that look like? And John bought a piece of property in an area of St. Paul called Frogtown, one property. And he moved in and he said, God, we don't know what we're going to do next. Tell us what to do next. And he's been living there, as I said, for almost 2 decades, spending his time just asking God what's next for 20 years. What turned out to be next was, you see where we are standing. I'm sorry, I'm supposed to point over here for you, those of you on the camera. Those of you who are standing, you see where we're standing. This is the community garden that they created for the community to be able to get fresh produce from, and for them to be able to have a hangout spot that was not filled with garbage. So this is my son, myself, and John. And then this next picture, you can move to that next picture. This next picture is another one of those community gardens, and we're going to linger here for a few minutes, is another one of those gardens nestled right into the middle of one of the neighborhoods. These are high crime neighborhoods, or I should say these were high crime neighborhoods. Until the influence of these individuals who live there, there are now, I believe, 10 missionary families living across 15 blocks, just living and investing and doing what they need to do to be parts of the community. This garden here is really special to me because this is the first garden I was ever welcomed in to help be a part of back in 2017. They had just cleared the land and they said, can you help us get this garden started? And I was there with a group of students from Lake Sawyer Community Church out in Washington State, our Christian church, out in Washington State. And we had gone there and we had cleared this land and we began to plant some of the very shrubs and things that you see in this picture. The wall that they're sitting on, as a matter of fact, is the wall that me and 3 of my students from Washington built in 2017. I was not sure it was going to make it because I was involved in helping build it. Thank God there were plenty of people on the team that knew exactly how to really build a wall that would last. But for me, what was really cool is here's my friend Jen. She's up in the front here. That is John's wife, saying, hey, we need to get a picture of your students on the wall that you helped build. And then she began to tell me the stories of how that garden that is behind that retaining wall has served the families on both sides of that garden. By hospitality. They just opened it up and they said, we'll give you spots. We'll help you keep it weeded. We'll give your kids something to do on the weekends when during the summertime and during the weekdays. So what they're doing is they're living and practicing hospitality every single step of the way. And we got to go and insert ourselves in the middle of what they're doing. And for me, it was a continuation. For everyone else in that picture outside of Jen, it was a brand new experience. And they got to see what hospitality looked like because while we were in that neighborhood, we went to the local businesses and did all of our shopping. We kept an ice cream shop in business for a whole week. It's about right. We found out later they had just opened, and actually they were 3 weeks in and beginning to wonder if they were going to get their costs back. And actually what we did was get them the entire month of expenses paid. Just by being in the neighborhood and asking, where should we go? And a neighborhood person saying, go to the local shop down there, which is what we did. Friends, hospitality is looking around and building relationships. The next picture is very special to me. This is my son, my friend Caven, and their friend Dakota. This is a story of hospitality beyond anything that I could possibly express to you. They seem to be just standing in this place that is filthy, dirty, and it is, by the way. But they were there to do a concrete project for a woman who had lost her husband a year before and was running a business in the neighborhood. She was having trouble with water getting into her basement. They needed to fix the inside, but first they needed to solve the source problem. And so they come up to me thinking that I know things because my friend John Tolo thinks I can do things I don't know how to do. he comes up and he goes, hey, I'm going to send you and some guys over and you're going to fix this concrete thing with the leak. And I'm like, I don't know how to mix concrete, John. He's like, yeah, you got it. Bye. And I'm standing there and I'm praying and I'm like, God, we got to do this. And I'm like, first of all, we're going to get Caven and we're going to get Jacob and we're going to let them mess this up. Then I look over and there's this guy, Dakota, from one of the other churches. And I said, you know what? Dakota looks like he knows how to do stuff. Turns out he's got a contracting business. I didn't know that. Dakota knows how to do stuff. So they spent the day, actually, fixing the source of the leak by pouring concrete, by first clearing it off, doing some prep work, and then going back later and pouring some concrete that would pull the water away from the building, so that I had actually heard, and I have not told my son this yet, I've actually heard that they have now followed up and they've started the interior work of making sure that the inside of the building, the inside of the basement, is also now leak-proof, so that if it ever busts through again, the problem will be solved. And that's a really cool thing. But the cool thing about this story is she knew how to be hospitable. She runs a Cambodian restaurant. Now, I kind of kidded around and I said, I told Jacob and Caven, I didn't actually quite tell them. I kind of gave them a choice to be ridiculed and say no. Meaning I did volunteer them. But I gave them the illusion of being able to say no. And they said yes. And at about lunchtime, I'm looking for them everywhere. I'm trying to find this team. I'm going over to deliver some more supplies. I'm like, where is this team? Where is this team? And I finally text them and they go, hey, we're inside. I'm like, what are they doing inside? Going to the bathroom? And I go inside and this woman has fed them. Fed them. Big bowls of rice. Beautiful. Soups. All the meat they could eat. And I mean, they're trying to pay her and she's like, no, you're helping me. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Everybody else on the group in that last picture was really upset that they didn't volunteer when I gave them a small window to volunteer. They were all like, I was like, see, this is why we volunteer, people. But the point is, by serving this family, this woman who is alone now, we were able to provide hospitality of service, and she provided hospitality of welcome and blessing. Friends, you see, this goes in two directions. Hospitality is not the one-way street we think it is. Hospitality works with the person walking in the house and the person inviting into the house. In the biblical model, at least, that's how it's supposed to work. So as I close down this section of our story, I just want you to see something else that we did now. Now, please hear me. I set this up with our students really well. I hope I can do it for you as well. We went to a location that could be perceived as overtly political. But friends, it's not. It's not. Let's put this picture up. We went to the location that has been created in where the George Floyd murder happened. We took our students into the neighborhood where we could all probably remember on the news we saw destruction and desolation for months after that event that occurred in 2020. And as we walked in, I told all of our students and I told all of our adults, I said, we're actually going in here so that we can be a presence, and so that we can learn from people that are there. This picture is really important because in this picture is not just us. There's an individual right in the front next to my friend Brasco, right in front of Malcolm, who is the brother of an individual who was also lost his life in an altercation with the police in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Matter of fact, if you go on Hulu and watch a particular documentary, you'll meet him. We had a chance to meet him standing in the neighborhood. What does that have to do with hospitality? It's like, okay, Rob, you're just trying to throw something in here. No, I'm not. What this has to do with hospitality is the way that he received us into that location and the way that we were able to receive him into our group. As we're standing there, I see Malcolm talking to this man in the corner, and I walk over and go, Malcolm, who's your friend? And he tells me, and I said, oh, wow. And he begins to talk to our kids about human beings who have endured real things, including the neighbors who lost their businesses when everything went wild. And we began to have a different perspective. I know for a fact we had a different perspective because I watched them process it on what it means to enter into a community that is hurting as individuals that might not know how to respond. Hospitality requires that we live in that tension space of entering into uncomfortable places, even when we don't know how to respond. And I watched, there were some folks from another group that joined us because they wanted to be a part of the day with us. I watched 20 individuals process real deep feelings in all directions. We went to a local coffee shop right across the street, a coffee shop that had been open 3 weeks before the incident with George Floyd. Imagine how hard it's been for them. And they're now thriving, thank God, because of the hospitality of their neighbors and the people that come and visit and come in and give them some business. And by the way, they make really good coffee. Because what I wanted our students to learn is this main point, that if I were to only give you this one point and we walked out, it would be enough. Hospitality is a posture. It's not an action. We can go to that slide. Hospitality is a posture. The posture of the people in that last picture was one of learning, was one of honest confusion in some cases, which was totally okay. The conversations we had that day were incredible. With each other, there was another brother there, and there were other family members from other families that just had businesses in the neighborhood that were walking up to your children, if you had a child on that street, and saying to them, I'm so impressed that you're here. Just the presence of being here mattered to them. One guy said, I looked over and there's all these white folk standing in the middle of this memorial, and I'm like, okay, something's happening. We met people from other towns and other places around the country who were there for no other reason other than to say, I wonder what this would be like to go and experience a place so well known for such a sad reason. And I will guarantee you, we all came back out of that place with a posture of hospitality embedded in our hearts. A posture that says, I don't understand everything about that or that person, but they are worth my time. They are worth my effort. They are worth me battling for them. Even if, insert whatever it is. This posture is the posture that Jesus had. This posture is the posture that Jesus called his followers to. In Philippians 2:7, it says that he emptied himself by assuming the form of a servant, taking on the likeness of humanity. That is the ultimate posture of hospitality that has ever existed. Jesus entered into our space and cast aside everything that he had that would have given him an advantage here and gave up his life for us. Friends, how is your posture of hospitality? Are you so upset at those dang blanks that you can't even talk to them? That's not hospitality. It's not. We have to have a posture that does the second thing that hospitality does. It builds a bridge. Hospitality is a bridge for relationships. Hospitality is a bridge for healing, honestly. Now, I've been to the George Floyd site 3 times now. I traveled up that way for a conference during COVID. We had a kind of a distance conference where we were all allowed to drive to this location and we could be there in person. And I drove up there and I stopped at this location in August of 2020. You think it was fresh then? And I remember walking into that location and feeling a sense of burden the moment I got out of my car. At that point, it was an autonomous zone. I would not have taken your children there. There were no police activities occurring at all in that location at that time. And I walked in, and I remember reading the sign that's still there that says, please enter with respectful solitude, no matter what your motive is. Allow the place to be the place. Allow what you feel to be what you feel, and process it. I went again earlier in this trip just to make sure that it was different from the last trip, to be honest. But I went with a friend who had lived there and had confessed, I've never been down there. And he goes, I'm a little embarrassed about that. And I said, well, I'll go with you today. And I walked him through and talked about my experience in 2020 and the people that I talked to and the woman that came over to me weeping and said to me, I'm so grateful you're here. And I said, I don't even know what to say. And she goes, you don't have to say anything. You are here. Friends, that's what hospitality looks like. Posture of hospitality looks like showing up and building bridges for communication. That became kind of a fun thing for us, actually, on our trip. As I was talking to the gentleman who has the coffee shop, he began to talk about, he asked me why I brought the students there, and I told him about my visit there in 2020, and he came around the counter and he gave me a hug, and he goes, man, you must have been one of the first white folk down here. I said, no, I ran into a few others. He goes, hopefully you stuck together because it wasn't safe down here then. I said, I know, I felt it. He goes, but then you brought these kids back. Why? I said, because we are a church that believes in teaching postures of hospitality, reconciliation, conversation, and difficult topics. I said, go talk to them. You'll love them all. There was an added thing for me. I'm just going to throw it in. It's not in my notes. But I was there with my son. Of course, I was there with Malcolm. But I'm standing there with Jacob in the coffee shop. If you know my son is adopted. My son is an African-American male. And he's standing next to me in the coffee shop getting preferential treatment. Because he was. And he turns around and he looks at me and goes, how's that feel? Kind of in the way a son can say it to a dad. Because the dude didn't figure out this was my son. So he's like, oh, yes, sir, yes, sir. And he's like kind of talking over me a little bit. And finally he goes, okay, Dad, you going to pay for it? And the guy looks at me and goes, all right, man. And Jacob's like, how's that feel, Dad? I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right, you got me. I love that moment more than you can know. And we stood and we talked and we hugged each other and we shared about what it felt like to be there. And it was cool to stand there with my son watching his posture of hospitality grow as he saw the need to build these bridges. In Romans 12, 13 through 19 in the Message version, we see what bridge building really looks like. Bridge building looks like this. Help needy Christians, I would add, or others. Other versions do say that. Be inventive in hospitality. But Christians ultimately, guys, we carry the water on this. Bless your enemies. No cursing under your breath. Laugh with your happy friends when they're happy. Share tears when they're down. Get along with each other. Don't be stuck up. Make friends with nobodies. Don't be the great somebody. Don't hit back. Discover beauty in everyone. If you've got it in you, get along with everybody. Don't insist on getting even. That's not for you to do. I'll do the judging, says God. I'll take care of it. Friends, we must build a bridge that allows people to experience the love of Jesus no matter what. We must go to the places in our neighborhoods that, like the George Floyd Memorial, make us had multiple opportunities to visit places where other people don't want to visit. I've been blessed with my time in Chicago to spend time ministering on the south side of Chicago for years. I'm right in the core of 71st Street, and if you know Chicago, you know what I'm talking about. And I took students, white students from the state of Vermont there for 10 years, and we ministered to young people in after-school programs because we built relationships. We had hard conversations. I stood face-to-face with gang members and asked them how, what, when, where, and why they got to where they got. And every single one of them said, man, it is pretty cool that you're here. Keep those kids from being like me. Friends, hospitality builds bridges into places that we might not want to go. Let's build those bridges. Let's knock on the tough neighbor's door and become their friend and ally. Doesn't mean we got to let them bully people. I'm not saying that. It means let's become their friend and ally because there's not conditions. Because here's the ultimate reason hospitality is important. It provides opportunities for change. If we are not hospitable, no change will ever happen around us that has anything to do with us. Now, don't get me wrong. God does all of the changing in people. But God has allowed us to be a part of that. God has allowed us to step into the relationships in the neighborhoods around us. He is not counting on us in the sense that if we don't do it, no one will. He'll do whatever he's going to do. But why would we want to miss out on that opportunity? Why would we want anyone to have another minute of pain? I'm grateful that people invested in me when I was really difficult. And believe me, I was hard to deal with before I got to Jesus. I can still be hard to deal with, and I got Jesus. I get it. I'm telling you, but people care. Because people understand that Jesus called us to be in relationships where we can help people change and transform who they are. It says in Matthew 5, 14 through 16 that we are a light of the world. A city situated on a hill cannot be hidden. No one lights a lamp and puts it under a basket, but rather on a lampstand, and it gives light for all who are in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. Friends, the only reason we should be sharing the things that God is doing outside of bringing him glory, the two reasons, giving him glory and allowing other people to see his glory and to see his faithfulness in our lives. We are not the hero of the story, he is. But we are key players because we are the ones that have connected into his power. Notice I said it can change. We're not going to force change on anyone. And actually, I think that's where we get in trouble. I think we build relationships thinking we're going to get someone to change, and when they don't, we just throw them away. This is not about us changing anyone. It's about providing opportunities for them to see their need to change. Just like we need to have people provide opportunities for us to see our need to change. It goes in every direction. The conversation taking place at the George Floyd Memorial is not a political one at all. I've been there 3 times. They're not talking politics there. They're talking real life people who are trying to put their lives back together. They're talking real life reform. The beautiful thing about Godtown and the reason that we've connected with them is they work with both a semi-Christian biker gang. And I do that. I don't say that all biker gangs are semi-Christian. This one happens to be semi-Christian. I watched them while we were there. I'm like, so this is a loose term for this gang. And the police. They provide dialogue between all sides of the conversation. Godtown has been an instrumental part in creating dialogue around the George Floyd Memorial location between city leaders and activists in the city. They're coming to, just like Dr. Anderson does through Gracism. And we start Gracism next, by the way, after we're done with this series. We start Gracism groups and a Gracism series of messages to revisit and to look at what does it mean to be the bridge building person in the proper posture, providing opportunities for change. Henry Nouwen says hospitality is not to change people, but to offer them space where change can take place. Friends, in our hospitality, we must offer space and places for people to make change. We must be the safe place. Again, Godtown's name is Safe Cities. They want to be a safe place for all of the dialogue to happen, for all of the difficult conversations to take place, and for safety and security to be brought to the neighborhood. Right before we arrived, there was a shooting in one of the houses right down the street from the garden we worked in. It was one of those gang beef shootings. Nobody got hit, but the house did 4 or 5 times as a warning. First people on the site next to the police, who were they? The Safe Cities people. Checking on the residents, making sure everybody was okay. Beginning to try to figure out, okay, who did this, what happened, what do we do next? You see, they understand what it means to thrive where they've been placed. Friends, we must thrive where we are placed. We must be hospitable wherever we go. And I'm going to close with this story, which is where your challenge is going to come from. So those of you who know me, I wore this shirt on purpose today. I started in ministry in 1991 to 1994, depending on what you call ministry. So I was a volunteer for a while, then I became a deacon in a church in 94, and since then, in some capacity, I've been in ministry in the church or the parachurch world. For 4 of those years, I was with Young Life. On staff first. I'm not going to get into my whole story. Ended up losing that job because of my own stupidity as a 20-something-year-old moron. But God used that, redeemed it, and helped me become a pastor not long after that. But one of my favorite stories from my Young Life days is the story of my friend Matt. Matt was one of the very first students I ever met at Eastern High School in Louisville, Kentucky. Just happened to run into him one day at the bus stop and I found out very quickly that he was on the soccer team. And we got to know each other a little bit. And I said, Matt, wouldn't it be cool if some of your friends came and started hanging out at my house? We got this thing called Campaigners. We can do this thing. And he's like, I'd love to do that. And he came over and brought about 10 guys with him. Still in a relationship with just about all of them. But Matt came. He was a non-Christian. And he's like, yeah, I'll go hang out with this weird dude who had hair at the time, by the way. There's this weird guy hanging out there. And we'll go to his house. It seems pretty safe. He's got a wife there. That should be okay. So they started hanging out at my house. We ended up building a club that became a huge club. And club is basically youth group for Young Life. Okay, and we had hundreds of kids come to the club, partially because of Matt. But you see, Matt wasn't a Christian when I met him, and Matt was on a journey to figure out who Jesus was. And so that Wednesday nights became a critical part of what my wife and I did for Young Life. And I know some of you in this room do this very thing. Okay? We had these 10 guys over, and very quickly we began to realize they would show up hungry because they were coming from practices or things like that, and my wife would begin to make food. I think you probably realize my wife can cook well. You don't even have to know us to know that my wife can cook well. And she can, by the way. And so Jenny would start to make enough food for every one of these young men to have dinner with us when they showed up. We didn't have kids. She would make plenty of chicken, plenty of steak, whatever we were having. And they'd come in and go, hey, guys, grab a plate. And so the first 30 minutes would just be us all eating and laughing and, playing a video game or doing something crazy. And we did that for like 10 months. We go to summer camp. Summer camp's amazing. It's incredible. Camping Young Life is pretty chill, by the way. We do that. Matt goes to summer camp. Still not a Christian. He'll tell you that at the time. He's like, I'm still figuring this thing out, but I like hanging with you guys. This is cool. We get into fall camp that year, and I'm off talking to a student, and all of a sudden somebody tells me, hey, guys, Matt just decided to follow Jesus. And I'm like, I'm excited. I'm driving all over camp trying to find Matt. I'm driving everywhere. I'm like, I got to find Matt. And I'm in a van driving out of camp, like pretty recklessly probably, because I got to find this dude because I'm so excited. He knows I've been praying for him. And he sees me, and he comes running across the thing, and he goes, hey, Rob, where's Jenny? And I'm like, I don't know. Why? And he goes, I got to talk to Jenny first. And she was there, and I found her, and they came over, and I watched the two of them talk. And the long story short, friends, Matt Roop came to Jesus because this is something we didn't know about Matt. Matt was from a divorced family. Matt had not had a home-cooked meal in 5 years until my wife started making him dinner every Wednesday night. Without expectation, without demand, without anything. Matt is asking questions in Bible study that's kind of like, man, Matt probably hates Jesus because he was very real with me. It's like, I like you. I'm not doing this. My wife lived hospitality for Matt. She provided for needs that she didn't even know he had because she took the time to get to him, because she will tell you, and I believe her, she said, I figured that out about him the second time he was at our house. I figured out he needed something more than just the Bible being open. He needed something to back it up. Friends, we can't just open the Bible and expect our neighbors to change. Matter of fact, that's pretty darn rude. I said it. We have to be in relationship with people that want to hear what we have to say. We have to be hospitable in such a way that even if they're going to be like Matt for a year and a half and go, you're crazy, this is stupid, I still like you and you still clearly love me, that they keep coming back for more. Because God might be using something in your hospitality. No, God will be using something in your hospitality to break down that barrier, to allow them to hear his voice, perhaps for the first time. So friends, we need to go and we need to be hospitable. That's your simple challenge. Who's your Matt? Who's your Matt Roop? Doesn't have to be a student in a Young Life program. For a very niche group of people, that's all it's going to be that. For the rest of you, it's going to be the neighbor next door that you need to have a posture of hospitality and humility, building a bridge so that you can provide them with an opportunity to see hope. But that's what we have to do. And they probably are going to look like scary people at first. Half of the time at least. But Jesus came for you and I. And friends, we're pretty scary people. I can speak for myself. I know I am. And yet Jesus put people in front of me to point me to him. Lord, I pray that we would be the kind of people that welcome people into our sphere, into our world, into all that we're doing. God, that we would show them the love of Jesus just by the way we love them. God, help this to be the most hospitable group of people that exists anywhere on the planet. Lord, may the people of your churches be known as lovers of people and people that stand up for the strangers, the outcasts, and the forgotten. In Jesus' name.
So we're going to get to respond in worship, so you guys can stand with us. And while we worship in this King that is so gracious and hospitable to us, we're also going to practice giving, financially as well. And so our ushers are going to come forward. But let's sing, let's give of our hearts, and let's give. Worthy of every song we could ever sing. worthy of all the praise we could ever bring, worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Sing Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. So worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Oh, we live for you. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder. Show me
All right, friends. So if we're going to live our lives like that, we have to live our lives hospitable. We have to build bridges. We have to have a posture that allows people to know that we're there for them. And then we can be in those moments where change can happen for us and for them. Friends, we do have some announcements before you go. If you're with us for the first time, please come see one of us and take 5. My left, your right. If you need prayer, our prayer corner is to my right, your left. And please go. And we pray for you as a staff every single Tuesday. So please be putting prayer requests in. We need those so we know how to pray for you. Go to the I'm here or the I'm home button and just tell us what you need to tell us, and we will pray for it. I promise. We spend the entire first part of Tuesday when the whole staff is back doing exactly that. Go to the events page to find all of these quick things I'm going to mention. We have a stay treat for the women coming up. You can find all the info you need online. There's a Rwanda mission debrief next week, the same there. But you can find all of this at eastlakeonline.com/events. So friends, go out and be hospitable this week to those around you. Have a great week.